Hello, I am Michelle with two L's.
And I'm Natalie the Red.
And we are Forcify Entertainment. And we are back. One last time for this TV show.
We're at it again for you all.
To give you our final thoughts on part 6 of Obi Wan Kenobi. It's been a long 6 weeks or 5 weeks.
But we've hung in there.
We have. We've championed through.
And I feel like that's something, if nothing else.
I feel like we deserve credit.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
I feel Disney needs to pay me
for
watching the show. That's how I feel. So let's get into the final episode of Obi Wan Kenobi. Again, part 6. Where do I begin? I think for me, even going into today's episode, they've so lost me to the point I just really didn't care. I think there were elements about this episode that were probably better than any of the others.
I think it's like you said, it's just I try and always keep an open mind, but once you've gone so far down a rabbit hole or a couple rabbit holes, sometimes it's hard to get back on track as the viewer. And I think that's kind of unfortunately what happened in the show for me.
Yes, because this show to me, it feels like bad episodes of Rebels, and I really enjoyed actually the cartoon Rebels. But my point is
that it was done better.
It was below Rebels, much below Rebels, and it felt kind of like it was geared towards the same audience as Rebels. Again, this show to me feels like people like to say, "Oh, well, Star Wars." George Lucas said Star Wars is made for kids. Well, that's fine, but his movies were family friendly. And again, as I've said, there's a difference between family friendly and kid friendly. This show feels like a cartoon that is geared towards kids.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
That's what it feels like. And again, not even done, in my opinion, as good as most of the Rebels or Clone Wars episodes.
Right.
This was like bad episodes of one of those two shows. And in fact, speaking of Rebels, so we build up, of course, to this big fight, this big moment that the show promised the rematch of the century. That's what we were told it was going to be. And we get Vader and Obi-Wan, and I mean, it was okay. What is the deal, by the way?
It didn't light your fire.
It did not. What is the deal, by the way, with Disney and rocks? I've never seen Jedi flinging rocks at such a level since Disney.
A lot of rock action, and I
that's what everyone comes to Star Wars for, the rock action.
It's the rock action. And I really, I think when they were fighting with their lightsabers, it wasn't, it was all right.
And
because I really was paying attention to the stance they were doing.
Well, even to me, it's even cheap to me that they literally ripped off Revenge of the Sith when, what does Obi-Wan say? He's like, I will do what I must, or what he literally says the exact same thing that he said in Revenge of the Sith. And it's like, we couldn't even come up with like something original for him to say.
Yeah, let's go with something new this time.
Obi-Wan was like, what I said last time was pretty awesome, so I'm just going to say it again. Like, that's kind of what this was like. And then speaking of ripping off, they literally rip off Rebels, the show Rebels, where Ahsoka fights Vader and his mask cracks and you see Anakin, and he's literally, they copied that. To the T, they copied that scene, and it's like Disney.
I think you're shaking the camera with your excitability right now.
Well, it's like Disney not only rips off the Lucas's work, they rip off their own work. I mean, it's just like
they call it recycling.
And again, Rebels was done by Filoni, which actually had thought and I thought was pretty good. But this, again, it rips that off, and it didn't even have the same impact because I've seen this already. So it can't have the same impact as Ahsoka and Vader did in Rebels.
And we haven't talked about the show really at all. So, getting the thoughts out there. Like you said, back to the rock action.
The rock's just...
And even when he's like doing it at Darth Vader...
It felt so dumb.
It was just weird. It was weird. It was like, don't do that.
It was weird. Like they're just flinging rocks at each other. It's like food fight.
Yeah,
that's what it felt like in Star Wars. And it's just like, what is this?
And let us know
what am I watching?
If you were into the rock fight. But I was not feeling it as much.
Well, and too, on that, the fight was, I guess, I mean, it was better than the first one because there was only one direction to go from there.
Could only go up.
But even with that being said, and Deborah Chow, again, she filmed 2 of my favorite Mandalorian episodes in The Mandalorian. But the fight, the way they filmed the fighting in this show, it just felt so off and it looked bad. Like every fight scene to me didn't feel right.
Right.
It really did it. It was filmed horribly, I actually think. And the lightsabers even.
Tell us what you actually think, Michelle.
The lightsabers even, and you guys can let me know below if you get what I'm trying to say. They even seemed off. Like they were so bright. They were
like toy lightsabers.
Yes. It just felt.
I was exaggerating, but
it felt off.
Yeah, it felt a little off.
It felt off. And then I said this, I think, last week. Something TV shows do when they don't have a big budget, is they'll make a scene really dark so you can't see that they're you can't see that they're like on a stage and like so you can't see that they're making the show. And this entire episode was so dark that it was at times hard to see the TV. Like, yes. and why was it that way? Because I guess Disney, again, when bringing back Obi Wan and Vader, can't even give them enough money to make the show look good.
And I understand a lot of shows do that you're like, man, is my brightness down? But I had that thought watching this show today.
It was a lot
today.
Almost
like you need to go put the brightness up and go in a darker room, to like make it. But yeah, it is pretty dark.
And again, that's just because in some of these cases, I think all that they were just on a floor with the screens around them that had what it was supposed to look like.
Yeah.
It just felt, again, this show sadly to me felt a lot cheaper than season 1 or 2 of The Mandalorian.
I agree.
And again,
who knows why that is exactly? Maybe just different people in charge of things.
I don't know, but it's like
not pointing any fingers.
You would think that like all the money they have for a show would go into this show. When it's Obi Wan and Vader. You would definitely think that.
One thing I would think making Star Wars content, like you really kind of need to have a good grasp of your characters and the importance level that they are to fans. And you think that would be taken just a little more seriously.
Definitely, because even the new trailer for the next Star Wars show, Andor, it actually looks like they put a lot of money into it. And that's great. You need to if you're going to make these shows. But why didn't you do that for this? Like 2 of the most beloved characters in Star Wars history. Why did they not get that budget? Right. And that's just kind of sad to me again. I'm trying to think if there's anything I really liked. There wasn't much. The whole Reva thing, again, we all saw that coming from a mile away.
Yeah. Does anybody care?
Does anyone care?
I mean, if you do care, let me know. Let me know.
Well, and
maybe it worked for you.
Like her whole end scene just didn't work for me at all. The tears, I felt nothing. In the whole thing.
She didn't ever win me over.
No, she didn't. Like she wasn't a likable person even to the end. Like when Vader turns, you love Vader at the end.
Oh, totally.
Or there's been other characters they've done that you're like, yeah, you're really happy for that.
I love a good turnaround. But I love to see a person, go to the light side.
But with her, I felt nothing. I felt absolutely nothing the whole time.
Yeah.
And then let's also point out,
I still don't care about you.
Let's also point out that she begins trying to capture Luke at the same time, I guess, at least the way they record it. Maybe it was different. Maybe it's one of those things. At the same time that Vader and Obi-Wan begin fighting. Yeah. And yet Obi-Wan is able to make it to across the galaxy, back to Tatooine, right as she's bringing Luke back. And it's just like, really?
Right.
Like, did that happen? I don't know. I'm trying to think. I do think because to me, the music has sorely lacked. Like, it's been the worst TV show ever for music. This at least did bring back in some good themes that they should have had.
The Darth Vader music.
Yes, and they had some other music from the originals. But why wouldn't you use some of the prequel music in this show? Right. Like the prequel music should have been used throughout this entire show, and that would have at least tricked some of our minds into at least feeling the feels of that what music does to people.
Well, and it might have been a nice bridge between time periods, because it's kind of like the familiarity of the music from the first and then the original trilogy.
But the music was better in this episode. It was, because they actually played some of the good John Williams music. But that's kind of been off in the show. I'm trying to think if there's, I mean, I think the nice things I can say is kind of the things I've always said, that Ewan McGregor's always great as Obi-Wan.
He is. Great actor.
Yes, great actor. And I enjoyed even Hayden's little moment. It was nice to see him back on screen. But outside of that, this show has been a massive disappointment to me. Like it really has. And I think for the most part across the board, fans are kind of just kind of like, about the show. That's kind of the feeling out there with it.
Yeah, and I don't know for sure. I haven't seen any reviews for this today, so I have no idea like how people feel. I mean, maybe people love
I was just talking about people in general. Like if you're out and about, no one's like, "Hey, did you see the new episode of Kenobi?" Like that's not happening.
It doesn't have a ton of hype.
It doesn't feel like it. Gosh, no. If you're out and about, people are like, "Have you seen Stranger Things?"
Yeah.
They're not talking about Kenobi
right now.
Like no one, because the show just sadly, it just was so poorly written, which is very sad considering they basically had the script for this like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And then they even paused production because we were told they were making the scripts better. And this is what we got. And to me, again, that's the word I use. The show's just been a disappointment. And I know he gets paid for it, and that's great. But it's just like these characters deserve so much better.
They do. That's really the bottom line here for this whole little series.
Yeah, it's as I've said throughout these reviews,
these weeks.
I'm not mad, but I am disappointed.
Yes,
is where I am today. Like it is what it is.
Mistakes were made.
A lot of mistakes were made. Poor scripts were written. It's been something, but I don't know. We'll see what Disney Star Wars is going to do moving forward. If they go back to Kenobi, which maybe they are, I just hope they give them a lot more money and some good writers. That would be nice. Good writing is important.
I think very important, probably.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty important. Kind of need that in a TV show.
The other elements need to be pretty on fire, really bring something if the writing's not going to be good. Because I'm sure it happens sometimes, but yeah, it's pretty important.
It's like the most important thing. Yeah, you gotta have it because then even a great actor like Ewan McGregor can't do anything with it. I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, those are my thoughts. If we're rating the show on the Hoots scale, let's see, the entire season of Obi Wan Kenobi, it gets like 0 hoots from me.
That's cold show.
Maybe I'll give it a half hoot just for Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen.
I'm going to give it a half a hoot out of respect.
Out of respect for those two. Because again, to me, nothing about what I've said about the show has anything to do with them. What they did, I enjoyed seeing both of them. I just wish they would have given them really good scripts. Yeah. And I especially feel bad, I think, for Hayden Christensen, who got so much hate during the prequel time to come back and to get such a horribly written show. Yeah. I wanted better for Hayden.
Right.
So
me too.
It is what it is, though. We'll see what they do next. And maybe we'll like it better. I mean, again, you guys know we both really love The Mandalorian, but it's time to get back to like those heights.
To get to that level.
Yeah, to that level. Because you could have even done better than that, but we don't need to go lower than that. Mando was really good, and it had some love and care in that show, and we need that to return.
We've seen it is possible.
It is. It's definitely possible. So we'll see, guys. Let us know you guys' thoughts about Obi-Wan, this episode, and the series as a whole. And if you have not yet, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Also, give the video a thumbs up. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, remember to be a force of light. All right. Bye, guys.